Hello, welcome back. Kamala Harris, our vice president, rounding out her second year as VP. And, well, she's frustrated with her media coverage. How dare you? And she is not holding back about it. She sat down with Washington Post columnist Jonathan Capehart, her biggest fanboy, apparently, to reflect on the past year. In an opinion piece titled, Kamala Harris had a most excellent year. Thanks, Bill and Ted. The VP vents about the lack of coverage her leadership is getting, and she compares that to coverage of the Supreme Court's landmark abortion rights reversal, saying, quote, "There are things that I've done as vice president that fully demonstrate the strength of my leadership as vice president that have not received the kind of coverage that I think Dobbs did receive." Todd, I'm a little confused. So she's mad that a landmark, once-in-a-generation Supreme Court case got more coverage than the fact that she was such an unlikable boss. A massive number of her staff ran for the exits.
I know that wasn't a word salad answer, but quite possibly that's her worst answer of 2022. Like, why are you bringing in Dobbs? That has nothing to do with the price of beans here. Having been in California for 12 years while she was AG and while she was senator, having covered her, been part of the media, I can say there was a 100% hands-off approach to Kamala Harris. She was above reproach. Anything she did, nobody covered critically. And so now when she's getting some semblance, some minute semblance of coverage, she can't handle it, because it's critical, because she's been tasked with all these things. She's done every single one of them horribly, and she can't deal with the facts. So what does she do? She takes it out on us in the media for not giving her glowing coverage. She takes it out, to your point, on her staff, who are fleeing in record numbers. She's not fit for this job. She's not doing it well. And you don't have to go too much further than the president himself, who said she's a work in progress when it comes to this job. If Joe Biden, a work in progress himself after being in politics for 50 years, says that about you, that's not a good sign.
No, it also is a sign that she's not ready to be president, which, you know, theoretically, your vice president should be able to step into the top job should something, God forbid, happen. And she doesn't have anything to really point to. She won't go to the border. She won't talk to people who are trying to get into this country. She doesn't have intel because she doesn't read her briefings from her staff. And she's apparently such a bad boss that no one wants to be tangled up in her web of incompetence.
But she brings a lot of attention to Venn diagrams.
Loves it.
She loves it.
I love a Venn diagram.
But, you know, because the decision to elevate her to VP wasn't a merit-based decision, right? It was based off of a series of, you know, box-checking exercises that Joe Biden said that he wanted and things that he wanted. And that's why she got the job, yet she still sees herself as a victim, which is really just an embodiment of today's political left, right? And you really had to go back to the vice presidential debate with Mike Pence. Remember, she was like, he was mean to me, and crying during it. And you say you want equality, you say you want all these things, you say I'm a woman, hear me roar, and then you cry when a man treats you as an equal. And then we heard from the media it was mansplaining just because he treated her as an equal and tried to actually have a debate. So I just think she's an embodiment of today's political left. She has no accomplishments. And also, she chose to serve alongside Joe Biden after basically calling him a racist and a sexual abuser. So clearly has no character either. Sorry.
So
I have to thump some
you love
thoughts.
her.
Loves her so
Big
much.
fan. Other than that,
She's the biggest fan on the couch.
huge fan. Other than that, Kennedy.
So how do these things work? You know, obviously she hasn't gotten great coverage this year because she hasn't done great things, and she's really blown some big opportunities to say really horrific things. So how does the White House and her office reach out to these kind reporters? And wouldn't it be more impressive if she were in a challenging environment and did well?
Well, absolutely. But first of all, the only thing that she has really done better at this year is giving more gaffes than President Biden did himself by the way that she responds to some of these interviews. And she can only get these soft-hitting interviews if if she doesn't want to completely embarrass herself. But if anybody actually read this Washington Post article, I mean, what a bootlicking sycophant the author was. Yes. Essentially saying, hey, you know what? She's been so successful and she has these 3 polls holding up the tent. The first poll is how she warned the world of the danger of Russia. And I literally spit out my coffee when I read this laughing. 'Cause I'm like, wait, whoa. Let's first rewind to 2000, 10 years when you heard Mitt Romney say, and then good old Obama at the time, like laughing at him, you're out of touch with the American people.
Yeah, the 80s went their foreign policy back, Mitt.
Not to mention the fact that at that actual meeting, when she was discussing Russian invasion, she talked about the fact that Europe hadn't seen any discourse since the World War II, forgetting everything that's happened. Actually, I mean, it was such a slap in the face.
Please don't tell that to any of the former Soviet satellite states.
No, and by the way,
where they were essentially sent back to serfdom and impoverished under communist.
I mean, it's horrible what has happened throughout Europe since World War II.
Or the Balkans. Like, let's just gloss over that. Does she not know? Like, that's the thing. That's what I want to know. Are there gaps in her historical knowledge?
I don't think she knows.
No, I agree. I don't think she knows.
I don't think that's forgivable. I'm sorry. If you're the vice president of the United States and you are literally a heartbeat away from the presidency, then know the history of the United States and the world that you are tasked.
All she did was read the memo from U.S. intelligence saying that Russia was getting ready to invade Ukraine. She had nothing to do with it. That couldn't have been sent over an email.
But that author, to your point, talked about the Munich Security Conference in February, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, and then her work in marriage equality. I'm going to go back to her own office and the White House. Remember they threw her out there immediately in 2021? I mean, and then they pulled her back. So she has nobody to blame but the White House and the Biden administration, who saw her out there with that awkward, uncomfortable laugh. Remember that?
Which time?
I know.
When people arrive in hell,
she was
that laugh will be played on a loop over and over.
Well, they're playing it in Guantanamo, so it's worse than waterboarding. It really is.
It violates the Geneva Convention.
Well, yeah, and then the Biden administration will probably still use the CIA to spy on people over that. But anyways, oh darn it, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I had a good point.
Like Kamala Harris.
No, this happens sometimes.
You're a classy little lady.
What was I going to say? I had a good point.
That happens to the vice president every day.
Yeah.
You have to be vice president.
You can be VP.
You are now.
Just start shaking hands with ghosts and you can be president.
Todd reignited it. I got it. I was going to say that this is also, God, I'm so glad I remember. This would have been really embarrassing. Probably already is. Anyways, so the reality is this woman has also had so much media training, and she still is this bad. Yeah. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. That was magical.
Solid.
That was worth it. I'm glad we waited for that.
Full circle.
That was good stuff.
That wasn't I.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.